that in everything we do and everything we see, God, that we would see you. God, that no matter what, God, no matter what the distractions are, no matter what things we're dealing with, whether there's family problems or maybe relationship problems or problems deeper than that, God, that you would take those. And God, that even in those, that we would pursue you even more. God, that we would grow in you. God, I thank you so much for this time that we have together. Every single person in this room, God, is here for you. God, bless us as we listen to your word. In your name we pray. Amen.
You guys can have a seat. Well, good morning. Y'all doing all right? Are y'all alive at least? Yeah. We got a little bit in here. This morning, how many of y'all are movie fanatics? How many of you love movies? Anybody in here? How many of you one day would love to grow up and be like a cinematographer or a producer or something like that? Anybody in here? All right, so we got a couple of movie buffs in here, so y'all are really going to appreciate what we're about to talk about, what we're about to embark on this morning. And that being this, I want to show you something that's really, really cool. This is something that I found very interesting over the past week. I found myself having this conversation a couple of times. And so I just want to see if you noticed something. How many of you love old movies? Anybody love old movies like Gone with the Wind? That's my feelings on Gone with the Wind, but it's a classic. You got to throw it in there, right? So like Gone with the Wind, I don't know, Casablanca, Rocky, which is, who loves Rocky in here? Anybody? Can we get an amen for Rocky? He knocked out the Russian. It was great. So this first clip that I'm going to show you is from this really, really old movie with this guy by the name of Gene Kelly. Anybody know who Gene Kelly is? Yep, Mr. Mitch is the only one in the room because he was the only one alive when they made the movie. You done? I love you, Mr. Mitch. I'm sorry. So we've got this first clip is Gene Kelly singing the title track, "Singing in the Rain," and then we're gonna watch another clip that we're gonna get to in a second. So, Maestro, if you'll hit this first video for us.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling, I'm happy again. I'm laughing at clouds so dark up above. The sun's in my heart and I'm ready for love. Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. Come on with the rain, I've a smile on my face. I walk down the lane with a happy refrain, just singing in the rain.
Sweet, so that's the first clip. Now, yeah, give it up. See, classic, Gene Kelly. I don't even know if the guy's alive anymore, but if he's dead, to your grave, Gene, we appreciate your work. All right, second one, how many of y'all love Glee? Who loves Glee? Anybody? Hannah's like, me! Everybody else is like, we're not going to admit to it, but yes, we do watch it, all of the reruns. All right, so the second clip is from the show Glee, and they did kind of this mashup. That's what they call them on the show, and in the music world, the term is called medley, where they take two songs and combine them, and it's Umbrella and the song Singing in the Rain. So y'all check this clip out.
Cheer. Holly. Good girl gone bad. Take three. Action. Go.
You have my heart, and we'll never be worlds apart. Maybe in magazines, but you'll still be my star. Baby, 'cause in the dark, you can't see shiny cars. That's when you'll need me there. With you, I'll always share. 'Cause I'm
Singing in the rain. Just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling. I'm happy again. I'm laughing at clouds so dark up above. I'm singing in the rain. You can stand under my umbrella. Ella, under my umbrella. Ella.
Awesome. All right, so Now, here's the test. This is where we're about to see how much attention you guys were actually paying to those two clips. I just want to ask you, what's different between those two clips, between those two, same song, different time periods, obviously, but what jumps out at you as being different in the Gene Kelly clip versus the Glee clip? Right over here, Sergey. All right, so more people. That's a good one. Very good. All right, give me something else. Right here, I can't see who it is. Gene Kelly is obviously a better actor. Yes. Better acting. Good. I like that. That's a good synopsis there. Yeah. All right, so the background music, would you say it was a little more involved in the Glee clip? There was more stuff going on in the music? We'll call it musicality just because I like using big words and feeling smart. Sure, Justin, for right now. All right, Allie, what was different? Oh, good. All right. So would you say that there was more or less setting in the Glee? Less setting in the Glee. Okay. Take one or two more, and then I'm going to just go ahead and... Chase, were you just like... okay. There was more of a backbeat to Glee. See, that's a real musician right there. Instead of saying more musicality, he's like, there's more backbeat. Are y'all starting to wonder where I'm headed with this? Yeah, because y'all aren't getting anywhere close to what jumps out at me. Elin. More vocal auto-tune. Are you saying Britney Spears was in that video? Took y'all a second to get that. All right, Morgs, just real fast, I want you to play 5 seconds from that first clip.
I'm singing in the rain, just
Stop.
sing.
All right, play 5 seconds from the second clip.
Shit.
Stop. Y'all notice anything different yet? Nope. All right, right here. What? The mood? Maybe a little bit what? No, it's not about the actors. It has everything to do with the cameras. Because do you notice how in the Gene Kelly clip, it's just him? There's one camera, there's one shot, and they change it over the course of what is a 5-minute song and 5-minute scene. They change the camera angle 4 times. That's it. But in 5 seconds of that second clip, we're changing scenes all over the place, aren't we? We're changing angles like it's nothing. Every beat has a different angle to it, didn't it? Why is that? Why is it that movies that were made in the older days, you could watch a scene and it was just one shot, 2 actors, just them dialoguing for 10 minutes, and that kept people's attention. But all of a sudden in movies and in stories and videos that we watch today, we've got to change the shots up so much. Back in the day, movies before 1960, the average that they would change an angle on a camera was 3 to 4 times every 5 minutes. Now, the standard that they change camera angles is every 3 to 4 times every 10 seconds. That's how quick we're having to change. And why do you think that is? Why do you think that producers and writers want to change the angles, want to change the set just a little bit, the way it looks so much? Why do you think they'd want to do that? To capture our attention, yeah, because we have shorter attention spans. You see, the human race, we can argue all day long that we've evolved, but I'm about to prove to you that we were actually devolving. You see, yeah, we can multitask at rates better than any other generation. You can be playing your PSP, and your PlayStation 4 and talking to your girlfriend on your phone all at the same time, doing multiple different things, but our attention span still is not very long. In 2000, what do you think the average attention span of a human being was? The smartest being on the planet, 2000, what do you think our attention span was? Huh? Whoa, who said that? What did you say? Oh, snap. Yeah, it's 12 seconds. That's awesome. Give it up. That was sweet. Like random trivia. All right. Now I want to ask you this question. What do you think the average attention span of a goldfish is? 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. The correct answer is 9 seconds. In 2013, this study was released just in January. In 2013, what do you think that the average attention span of the smartest, most complex being created on the face of this earth is? Justin, what'd you say? No. 8 seconds. We have a shorter attention span than a goldfish, people. But we're the most highly intelligent being created. And it's interesting to me that as our attention span has gone in 13 years from 12 to 8 seconds, authors and writers and producers and filmers, they're having to take they're having to work harder than ever before to keep our attention. Because if they can't keep the reader focused, if the author doesn't keep the reader focused by changing the scene or the drama or the conversation every page or two, statistics show he's probably going to put the book down, the reader is. If the videographer doesn't change the angle of the shot, if they don't pan from one face to another, if they don't give you a different look or a different view every 3 to 4 seconds, we're going to get bored with a movie and say that it's stupid. And for those of us who have to preach every Sunday, and a sermon's got to be 30 minutes, we're done because people are falling asleep in the back, like 30 seconds in. And every weekend when I start sermon preparation, I'm asking myself the same question that every author asks, that every producer asks, that every writer asks is, what can I do to get their attention? What can I do to capture you? What can I do to draw you in to this story? How can we relate it? How can we make it real for March 16th, 2014, for both the 7th grader that's 13 years old and the 12th grader that's 18 years old? What do I have to do to get your attention? So this morning, I want you to do something this morning. I want you to try and stay focused. I want you to beat the odds and give me your attention for another 10 minutes, because that's all this sermon is going to take. That's all it's going to take. So where we are this morning is this. I believe that Jesus was a person who commanded people's attention. I believe Jesus was a person that when he walked into the room, when he walked down the street, people's heads turned. The attention went to him. People began to talk about him, who he was, what he was doing. And some people loved that he commanded attention. Some people loved that about him, and so they wanted to follow. But some people hated that about him and wanted him dead, right? And so Jesus was a person that had people's attention. Watch what it says in Matthew chapter 4. Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness among the people. News about him spread all over Syria. News spread. People's attention were turning to him, and people brought to him all who were ill with various diseases, those suffering severe pain, the demon-possessed, those having seizure, and the paralyzed, and he healed them. That's when you know you've got people's attention, is when they come to you. And so Jesus, people were coming to him. In Matthew chapter 5, the very next chapter, we hear Jesus, he sits down on a mountainside, and his disciples come to him. And he proceeds to preach this famous sermon, you may or may not have heard of it before, called the Sermon on the Mount. And if any of us preachers ever preached that sermon for that long, we'd be fired the next week. But Jesus went on and on and on and on and on, and he had people's attention. And they were focused and zoned in on what he was saying. Later on, we read this. We read that Jesus heals a leper. Well, I don't know about you, but if a leper walked into this room and this man laid his hands on him and healed him, I think that would get our attention, wouldn't it? And I bet that also would get the attention when we left this place and we continued to tell the story. That would get people's attention, wouldn't it? That would be an attention getter. We read later on in the Gospel of Matthew that Jesus, he walks into Peter's home, and he looks and he sees Peter's mother-in-law laying on her bed, and she's sick with a fever, and all he does is he walks over to her and he touches her hand, and when he touches her hand, the scriptures say she was immediately healed, and she got up and began to serve him like nothing was ever wrong. That would get my attention. that would get my attention. Apparently, though, this happened in Capernaum, and TMZ, they were up in Capernaum because that evening, like, news had spread throughout all of Galilee that Jesus was there and stuff was going down. Because guess what? A bunch of people show up at Peter's house that night, and they have all of these people who are sick. They've got all these people who are ill that need Jesus' healing power. They need him to heal them. And Jesus heals every single one of them, the story says. But my favorite story, I think, where Jesus gets people's attention is this, and it's actually his 12 closest friends that he gets their attention, is probably the next day or two. He gets real tired of, like, paparazzi hanging out in the bushes outside of his house. He gets real tired of all the camera flashes and the mobs, when he's walking around town just trying to get a loaf of bread. Like, he's real tired of all the people. He's worn out. He's gotten their attention, but he's tired of their attention a little bit and he needs a little rest. And so he looks at his buddies and he's like, hey, let's get out of here. Let's go to the other side of the lake. And so they jump in the boat, they get in the boat, and they're headed out, and Jesus falls asleep. He's exhausted. And the story says that Peter gets up, and they are all afraid for their lives. The boats are rocking and are rolling. They think they're going to go down. And the logical thought is, well, Jesus just healed all these people. If he has the power to heal people, of course he's got the power to calm the storms. And so on this leap of faith, in this step of hope, Peter wakes Jesus up and begins to shake him. Jesus, wake up, wake up, wake up. I need you to do something for me. And Jesus kind of wiping his sleep out of his eye. He's kind of frustrated. You can hear it. He's like, do you really think I'm going to let us die, Peter? Do you really think that? And he's probably like wiping sleep out of his eye and throwing punches, kind of like Chad Witten when you wake him up from when he's asleep. He doesn't like that very much, I've learned. Jack can tell you about that. And it says that Jesus calms the storm. And you know what the scripture says? It says this, and the disciples, I love what they say. It goes, what kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him. What kind of man is this? They're in awe. He's got their attention again, doesn't he? And once again, he reins them in a little bit more, and the story goes on. He continues to grab people's attention. He continues to bring them into the fold. He raises a girl from death. He forgives this leper, and he forgives him of his sin, and he heals him of his disease. Then he looks at this man who can't walk, and guess what? Well, he ran into Jesus, and Jesus got his attention, and now that man has the ability to walk. And guess what? A man walked up to him, and he couldn't speak. He was a mute, and Jesus gave him the ability to speak. I think that got a lot of people's attention. And not just the attention of those that he healed, but the attention of those that were hearing the story. Jesus was grabbing people's attention, and they were focusing on him. But not just the people that loved him, not just the people that he was healing. He was getting the law and the authorities' attention as well. You see, because he was beginning to go against the norm. He was beginning to go against the accepted practices and traditions a little bit. He was working on the Sabbath. He sent his disciples out. He told this man to pick up his mat and walk, and to carry your mat on the Sabbath. Well, that's breaking the law. That's work. So the Pharisees and the Sadducees, Jesus begins to get their attention. And they want him dead. And you know those moments in the movies when you're kind of like, what? That just happened? Like your jaw drops because something so epic happens. It's like not the climax, but you can tell kind of where the story's going. That's where I want us to focus this morning. Is this one little passage in Matthew chapter 17 where Jesus takes 3 of his best friends up to this mountain called Mount Tabor. And check this out. It says this. After 6 days, Jesus took him with Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was, transfigured before him. That word transfigured, it means completely changed. He took on a different appearance. Pretty big deal. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes, they became bright as light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. And Peter said to Jesus, Lord, if it's good for us to be here, if you wish, I'll put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah. And while he was still speaking, a bright cloud covered them, and a voice from the cloud said, This is my son whom I love. With him I'm well pleased. Listen to him. When the disciples heard this, they fell down to the ground terrified. And it goes on. But Jesus came and touched them. Get up, he said. Don't be afraid. When they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus. They fell to the ground terrified. His face shone bright as light, as the sun. His clothes were pure and white. This is a moment where Jesus, he wanted to get their attention. You see, earlier in the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus looks at his disciples and he says, well, who do they say that I am? And Peter looks at him and he confesses, he says, you're the Messiah. You're the Son of the living God. That's who you are. And Jesus wanted to make sure that he had their attention, that they knew who he was, because guess what? The plot was about to unfold to kill him. The plot to kill him was about to begin, and he wanted to make sure that they knew who he was exactly. That there was no more doubting, that there was no more wondering. And so he takes them to the top of this mountain, and he shows them the glory of his Father. And for the time being, that's the most epic moment. That's the most attention-grabbing moment in the entire story. That's the one moment that fully captivated them. That's the one moment that was going to carry them through what was to come. That was going to carry them through when their best friend, when their rabbi, when their teacher, when their Savior, when the Messiah was arrested and put on trial. That was going to carry them through the terrible, ugly, brutal march to the cross. That was going to carry them through his last breath. That was going to carry them through the days when he wasn't there. When they thought all hope was lost and he was dead. That was going to carry them through. They weren't going to have any more questioning and doubting because they can't mistake that moment. He had their attention on that day. There's no more doubting who Jesus is for them. They got the message loud and clear that he's the Christ, he's the Son of the living God. And here's the thing. The same way that Jesus wanted their attention, and he wanted to captivate them, and he wanted to engage them in a deeper way of who he is and what he does, he wants that for you and I. He wants to get our attention, but here's the thing, I don't think he just wants to get our attention for 8 seconds. I think he wants to keep our attention for the long haul. I think he wants us to know that even in the depths of the valleys, that he's still the Christ, the Son of the living God. I think that he wants us to know that on the highest of mountaintops, that he's still the Christ, the Son of the living God. I think that he wants us to know in those moments where we're stuck in fear and terror and we're paralyzed and can't move, that he's still the Christ. He's still the Son of the living God. I think he wants to keep our attention. Has he ever gotten your attention before? Have you ever had a moment where God has gotten your attention, where Jesus has gotten your attention? And maybe it was real simple. Maybe it was in a moment of prayer, just in your bedroom, quiet at night. And there was just this feeling where you prayed a prayer and you knew everything was going to be okay. And the hairs on the back of your neck stood up a little bit. And you felt chills go down your body. Maybe he captured your attention at a big stuff during worship or on the beach during quiet time. Maybe that's where he captured your attention. Maybe he captured your attention on the streets of Kenya. Maybe he captured your attention on the streets of New Orleans or Bogalusa. Maybe he captured your attention at the New Orleans Mission. Maybe he captured your attention in the halls of your schools. But that moment that he captured your attention, how long did he keep it for? How long did he keep your attention? Because here's the thing. It's pretty crazy that in the midst of being overly stimulated, in the midst of having so much at our fingertips and our disposal, in the midst of being so connected, it's real easy to miss what's going on right in front of us in plain sight if you look close enough. Hey, Chad. Kind of bald there, buddy. Yeah. It happened. Right in front of 160 eyes. How many of you saw it? Happened right in front of your eyes. You were staring at him the entire time, and you missed it. How often, because so many other things have your attention, are you staring right at Jesus and you miss him? Let's pray. God, you never fail to surprise us. You never fail to grab our attention. I pray that we'd be on the lookout in this Lent season, Father, for your grace and your mercy. I pray that we would catch a glimpse of what James and John and Peter saw on that mountain that day. A glimpse of heaven, a glimpse of the Son of God being revealed. And I pray that when you grab our attention, Jesus, you'd keep it. Reveal yourself to us now in this place. We love you. Amen.
All creation